After a nasty wreck on the road, I called her from the ER, asking if she could come pick me up. Her answer? Sorry, I'm having lunch with my male best friend right now. Can't just leave. All I replied was, okay. What happened next? Specifically, what a police officer told her when he walked up to her table, completely flipped that lunch on its head. You really do see someone's true colors when life hits hard. I've learned that firsthand in my job as a paramedic. Every day, I'm face to face with people living through the absolute worst moments of their lives. I see how they cope when the sirens are wailing, when fear's in their eyes, and when everything feels like it's falling apart. I've watched total strangers hold the hands of people who were slipping away. I've seen husbands cry over wives who might not make it. I've seen humanity at its most selfless, even in the middle of chaos and pain. And then, there was my girlfriend, Kate, and one car accident that stripped away every illusion I had about who she really was. We'd been together for 2 years. She lived with me in my apartment, a place I'd busted my tail to afford. Outwardly, things looked good. Kate was gorgeous, outgoing, the spark in every social gathering. I was the quiet, steady presence. I thought we balanced each other perfectly. I brought calm to the table and she brought the fun. The one thing that ever really rubbed me the wrong way was her best friend, a guy named Marcus. Marcus was one of those trust fund types who called himself a consultant, which, near as I could tell, meant he spent half his life eating at overpriced restaurants and handing out advice nobody asked for. She and Marcus were glued at the hip. Their friendship, as she liked to say, was special. They had private jokes I wasn't part of, and they texted all the time in conversations I never saw. I'm not the jealous type. My works trained me to keep my cool under pressure. But something about the closeness between them always felt off, like I was the extra wheel in a two-person ride. Still, I trusted her. When she swore they were just friends, I chose to believe it. That trust came crashing down last Tuesday. I was on my way home from a brutal shift, rain hammering the streets. Out of nowhere, some kid in a souped-up Civic blew a red light and slammed straight into my driver's side door. The hit was violent. A deafening mess of twisting metal, exploding glass, and the sick crunch of my car crumpling around me. The next thing I remember, my fellow paramedics were hauling me out of what used to be my car. I was strapped to a backboard, my head pounding, my left arm throbbing in a way that told me something was definitely broken. While they were loading me into the ambulance, a familiar face appeared. Officer Tyler, a solid cop I'd worked alongside before. He leaned in and said quietly, "Hey man, your car's totaled. We're having it towed. We need an emergency contact to notify about the accident and where the vehicle's going. Who should we call?" "Kate," I muttered, fighting through the pain, and rattled off her number. The ambulance ride blurred past. At the ER, they cut away my uniform, pumped me full of pain meds, and started running tests. X-rays confirmed it. A clean break in my left humerus, plus a moderate concussion. No internal bleeding. I was lucky, banged up from head to toe, but I was going to walk out of there eventually. An hour later, a nurse came in. "We've tried your emergency contact, Kate, a few times," she said. "No answer. Is there someone else we should call?" That hit me like a bucket of cold water. No answer? I already knew why. It was Tuesday, her sacred long lunch day with Marcus. I grabbed my phone with my good hand. The screen was spiderwebbed with cracks, but it still lit up. I typed, "Hey, I've been in a bad car accident. I'm in the ER at St. Mary's. My arm's broken. Car's totaled. Can you come pick me up?" A few minutes later, I saw the typing dots. Then her reply popped up, the message that would change everything. "OMG, that's awful. So sorry, but I'm in the middle of an important lunch with Marcus. Can't just leave. Can you grab a taxi or something? Keep me posted." I read it once, then again. The pain meds couldn't dull the clarity that slammed into me right then. She wasn't just brushing me off. She was choosing a casual lunch over a real, verifiable emergency. I was lying in a hospital bed, and her priority was not disturbing her appetizer. That was the last straw. Whatever was left of our relationship collapsed right there. Then I thought of Tyler. The police still needed to make official contact with her for the report. And suddenly, an idea came to me. Cold, precise, and absolutely perfect. I took a screenshot of her message. Then I sent her one word back. "Okay." After that, I called Tyler. "Hey Tyler, it's Evan Brooks. Appreciate your help earlier. Listen, I know you've been trying to reach my emergency contact, Kate, she's not answering, but I can tell you exactly where she is. She's at the Gilded Spoon downtown. It'd be important to make that notification in person. Tyler didn't miss a beat. Got it, Adam. We'll send a unit right away. You just focus on getting better. I hung up, leaned back into my pillows, and let a small smile slip through. Kate was in the middle of a very important lunch. I had a feeling it was about to get interrupted in a way she'd never forget. Update 1. That hour lying in the ER bed turned out to be one of the clearest, most defining hours of my life. The physical pain was still there. A dull, steady throb in my arm, a pounding in my skull. But emotionally, something had shifted. The hurt wasn't raw anymore. It had frozen into something sharper. A calm, surgical kind of determination. Her betrayal wasn't just disappointing. It was so complete, so unapologetic, that it burned away every normal response I might have had. No sadness. No begging for an explanation. Just a cold focus and the knowledge that I needed to act. Sean, a fellow paramedic and the guy who'd actually been in the ambulance that brought me in, stopped by to check on me. He took one glance at my face, and it must have been obvious this was about a lot more than a broken arm. "What's going on, man?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "You look like you're about to launch a full-scale offensive." I handed him my phone. He read Kate's text slowly, and I watched the disbelief harden his features. "You've got to be kidding," he muttered. "She blew you off for lunch? With Marcus?" "Yep," I said flatly. He leaned on the side of the bed. "So, what's the plan?" I let the faintest smirk cross my face. Already in motion, I had the cops go to her restaurant and tell her in person. Sean blinked, then grinned in a way that told me he got it immediately. "Man, that's cold. And also brilliant." Later, Officer Tyler filled me in on how it all went down. Straight from the patrol officers he'd sent to deliver the message. And honestly, played out better than I could have written it. The Gilded Spoon is one of those fancy, high-visibility places where people don't just eat, they perform. Glossy marble tables, overpriced drinks, patrons dressed like they were auditioning for a lifestyle magazine spread. The kind of restaurant where showing up is part of your personal brand. Kate and Marcus had prime real estate that day. A window table, bottle of overpriced rose between them, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. And then the front doors opened, and in walked 2 uniformed police officers. That kind of thing gets noticed in a place like that. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks froze halfway to mouths. People were already speculating, eyes tracking the officers as they moved steadily between the tables. They stopped right at Kate and Marcus's. One officer, tall, broad-shouldered, with a face carved out of stone, looked at Kate and spoke loud enough for half the room to hear. "Ma'am, are you Lena Carter?" Kate blinked, clearly annoyed at being interrupted. "Yes." "Is there a problem, officer?" The officer's tone was level, official. "We're here regarding a major vehicle collision involving your partner, Mr. Evan Brooks. He was transported by ambulance from the scene to St. Mary's Hospital with significant injuries." In that moment, all the color drained from her face. Marcus's wine glass stopped midair, suspended like he wasn't sure whether to drink or put it down. The officer didn't soften his delivery. "His vehicle was totaled. We've been attempting to reach you for approximately 2 hours, as you are listed as his primary emergency contact. Mr. Sterling informed us we could find you here. He requested that we notify you in person and advise you that you'll need to coordinate with the towing company to retrieve any personal belongings from the vehicle." Every phrase was a spotlight. Major vehicle collision, transported by ambulance, significant injuries, vehicle totaled, emergency contact. He wasn't accusing her of anything. He didn't need to. The facts alone painted a crystal-clear picture for every single person in that restaurant. While her boyfriend was in the hospital after a serious accident, the woman listed as his emergency contact was here, sipping wine, laughing with another man, unreachable. Tyler told me that's when Marcus's expression shifted. Whatever easy charm he'd had a moment earlier was gone. In its place was a look that said, "Who exactly are you?" It was the look you give when you suddenly realize you might not know someone at all. The officer wrapped it up without ceremony. "That's all, ma'am. You should probably head to the hospital." With that, the 2 officers turned and walked out as calmly as they'd entered, leaving the entire dining room steeped in awkward silence. They left behind a half-finished lunch, a window table everyone was now staring at, and a woman whose polished image had just been demolished in front of an audience she desperately wanted to impress. Her important lunch? Yeah, it was officially over. Update 2. What happened right after was exactly what you'd expect. A storm of chaos. But I got to watch it unfold from the quiet safety of my hospital room. Once they discharged me from the ER, arm in a sling and a handful of prescriptions in my pocket. My sister showed up to pick me up. She'd been my real emergency contact all along. I'd called her as soon as I was done talking with the cops. The fire in her voice when I told her what Kate did could have powered a small city. She took me back to her place to recover. There was no way I was stepping foot in my apartment again until it was completely cleared of Kate's stuff and presence. Kate, meanwhile, went full-blown frantic. My phone blew up with texts and missed calls. A desperate, tangled mix. Adam, I'm on my way to the hospital. I'm so sorry. My phone was on silent. Classic excuse. Where are you? They said you were discharged. Why aren't you answering me? I'm freaking out. This is all your fault. You sent cops to my lunch just to humiliate me. The way she flipped from fake concern to full-on blame was telling. I didn't respond once. I just blocked her number. The real story of what went down that afternoon came from Marcus himself. Turns out, he didn't want to be a side character in her drama. That evening, he messaged me on social media direct and clear. Hey Adam, I don't know you well, but I was with Kate at lunch today. I honestly had no clue about your accident until the cops showed up. As soon as they left, I paid my half of the bill and got out of there. The way she shrugged off something so serious, that's not someone I want anything to do with. Sorry for whatever role I played in your problems. I'm done with her. Hope you have a speedy recovery. Sure, it was a bit self-serving, him trying to wash his hands of guilt, but it still felt like a win for me. I hadn't just embarrassed Kate. I'd exposed her true self to the very person she was trying to impress. She lost her boyfriend and her best friend in one afternoon. While I rested, my sister became the general of my cleanup operation. She arranged for a moving company that specialized in breakup content removal to come the next day. They packed up every single thing Kate owned. Every shirt, shoe, book, and stacked the boxes neatly in the living room. Then my sister called a locksmith and had the locks changed. After that, she sent Kate a formal email from a new address. Subject line: Retrieval of personal property. It said, Kate, this email is to inform you that your relationship with Evan Brooks has ended. Since you are not on the lease, your residency is also terminated. Your belongings have been packed and you have 48 hours to arrange for their professional removal. Please contact me, Adam's sister, at this email to schedule a 2-hour window for pickup. You will be allowed entry only to remove your items and must leave immediately afterward. If your belongings are not removed within 48 hours, they will be considered abandoned and disposed of. Any direct contact with Adam will be treated as harassment. It was cold. It was legal. It was final. She had abandoned me in my moment of need. Now I treated her the same way with detached, businesslike finality. Final update. It's been 7 months since the accident. My arm is healed, the concussion a distant memory, and my life is finally calm and peaceful. Kate followed the instructions, coordinating with my sister to pick up her stuff. I heard she showed up with her dad. Looking sullen, defeated. She barely said a word, just pointed the movers hired by her father, oversaw the removal, and left the key on the counter. The social fallout for her? From what I gather, it was brutal. The story about the cops showing up at the Gilded Spoon became a legendary piece of gossip in her circle. No spin could save her. She was the woman who chose Brunch over her boyfriend in the ER. Her attempts to paint me as some manipulative villain fell flat because the facts were too damning. She lost most of her friends, not because they sided with me, but because they were embarrassed to be linked to her. About a month ago, she tried reaching out. A long, rambling email packed with excuses and fake apologies. Claimed she panicked, said she wasn't thinking straight, blamed Marcus for pressuring her. It was a textbook lesson in shifting blame. She finished by saying she missed me, missed the stability we had, and that she'd learned her lesson. I didn't respond. Instead, I set up a filter to send anything from her email straight to trash. Her lesson? Not my problem. My revenge wasn't about the cops or the public spectacle. Those were just the delivery method. The real victory was the quiet, deliberate way I cut her out of my life. She treated me like an inconvenience, a background character in her flashy story. So I wrote her out completely. I reclaimed the life I built, the stability she'd taken for granted, and made it mine again, fully and totally. The most satisfying part? Knowing I saw the truth and acted without hesitation. A real relationship is a partnership, and the first rule is you show up when it counts. Kate didn't just fail that test. She burned the whole thing and walked away laughing. The look on her face when the cop showed up at her table was only the first consequence. The empty apartment, the silent phone, the life she lost. Those were the real lessons. She couldn't risk getting sick before her fun trip. In the end, I was the one who got better. I cut out the sickness from my life, and that sickness was her.